aren't able to, will be behind us in the grass area. But the Dan Wilson Memorial Parade will be starting here shortly. Just give a heads up, everybody. Dan Wilson was an integral part of the Power of the Past. He was the announcer for many years and one of the founding fathers. He always liked these tractors in the parade. He always knew everything about them, whether it was nice looking, rough looking, whatever. He appreciated everything that was brought out here. So after he passed, we decided to name this parade after him. His family's here today. They will be judging these entrants. We'll see which one they pick, whether it be a pretty one or an ugly one. Like I say, Dan loved them all. So in about 2 or 3 minutes here, we'll have our first steam engine come out. We'll be ready to start.
Okay, so you're gonna be on the road?
Me and Chris. So whenever the baker comes, you'll know. And then everyone else will say, look to the back of the, right in front of the Alice's. And,
yeah. I'm ready whenever you are, so.
But yeah, she should do that and show me how. Hey, will you flip on and just say something? We're checking it for us to make sure it's alive.
Okay, we got our first steam engine coming up here. Got a little whistle, get in by one, he's gonna be moving. He's actually got rubber tread on his tires, so he's gonna be coming around here with on the train. We got 2 this way, so they are able to come down this paved road for us. Appreciate everybody standing out here in this hot weather. Watch this parade. These guys really appreciate seeing you guys look at their masterpieces. Like I say, the Dan Wilson family will be giving away a prize here afterwards. They'll be judging it. They'll get a hold of you and let you know which one is the winner. Coming around the corner there is our very own Blaine Schroeder, nicknamed Digger here. He's a director of the Power of the Past. His grandfather was Vince Grody, one of the founding fathers, and always in charge of the steam engine area. It's a 1922 Minneapolis 20-horse steamer. It's pulling a tram full of goodies there, so got a truck coming down the road here. We got to get out of the way. Like I say, it's ran today by our director, Blaine Schroeder, otherwise Digger, and also Cody Spray. So he's got a lot of knowledge and everything about these steam engines. He's been around them all his life with his grandfather Vince. How about a whistle, Digger? Got to give credit for these steam engines, guys.
It's 90 degrees out here, and that's just a very slow temperature for these guys. 100 and some degrees they're used to on these things. Next few steam engines have steel wheels, so we're going to cut through the grass with these guys. County Highway just redid this road last year, and I'm sure he wouldn't appreciate having grooves cut in it already. So we'll get them turned around here. We'll get them down to grass. Steam engines wasn't known for being speedy things, slow and steady, but it's a lot better than have to feed a horse all day to get their work done. Coming down here on the west side here on the grass is Andrew Chafford out of Ridgeville, Indiana. It's a 1916 Case 50 horse steam engine. If you notice, if he's turned around there, he had to turn that steering wheel several times just to get it to turn. Most of these are chain-driven steering, nothing like what we're used to nowadays with either tractors or cars. No such thing as power steering in 1916. But Case was always a big producer of steam engines. Case was a major company to deal with back in the early 1900s. Once they got a steam engine, went to tractors, and they really went to life then. Once again, it's Andrew Chafford out of Ridgeville, Indiana, 1916. Well, we might be having a race here, it looks like. Looks like Bill Stahl's pulling around the side here. Coming around on the inside, looks like the Indy 500 back here. Bill Stahl having somebody operate his 1904 Gar Scott. It's a 22 horsepower, and you look at the exhaust, it's made a little different than the rest. It's actually a straw burner. Everybody back on the farm back in the days had straw, so it's easy to operate one of these. Just keep on throwing it in. The operators on this one are the Heffelman brothers. We appreciate everything they've done. How about a whistle, guys? You got one on there? Sounds good. Appreciate it. We'll see if Andrew can get the old case of moving here again. A lot of levers you got to play with these things to get them moving. That steam, you got to persuade it to go forward or backwards by moving some levers. Once again, this is a 1916 Case, 50 horsepower Case. Hey, Andrew, you got a whistle on that one? Nice and sweet. That way you knew when he's coming for supper. Coming around the corner now is a 1929 Keck Gunnerman, 19 horsepower sawmill special, owned by Corey Countryman out of Germantown, Ohio. He's come a long ways to show that. We appreciate that. It's built in Mount Vernon, Indiana. It's one of the last Keck Gunnermans built from the factory. It's the first time it's ever been in Greensburg. The engineer is Chris Huber. Looks pretty good. 1929, that's about the end of all steam engines. Everybody decided to go to tractors by then, and the steam engines were fading away. How about a whistle, guys? Short and sweet. Hey, he's got two-tone there. He can play a tune. Oh, sounds good, guys. Appreciate you bringing it. Coming up next is the Huber family from Connersville, Indiana, a 1913 Baker, engine number 957. If you notice the steam generator powering the light on the front of the engine, that's kind of a strange setup. These guys could work all day and all night then. Start sweating at 7 in the morning and sweat at 7 at night. Hey, you guys got a whistle? Hey, appreciate it. Looks like it's pulling a tram full of goodies there, so Bill's on there. Appreciate that. Sounds good. Coming up next is one that comes to Greensburg quite often. It's Tim Murray Trable out of Yorkville, a 1909 Peerless 16 horsepower TT. It's been owned for the last 35 years by these guys. The wooden spokes in the rear wheels are kind of strange because most of these guys had steels all the way around. It was forged in a big iron that way. Today it's operated by Paul Bruns out of Greensburg. How about a whistle? Got a little high tone to that one. Boy, you really hear you in the house in the supper time on that one. The last steam engine we got is actually an oil pull, 1928 Rumley, it's driven today by Cody Spray out of Indianapolis. It's a Model X. Back in the day, there was plenty of these around that are getting far and few between anymore. They actually run on oil. If you notice that big tank up front, it gets pulling pretty hard. It'll start puffing smoke and kind of make you wonder about the mosquitoes. Well, thank you, Cody, for bringing it out from Indianapolis. Okay, now we're ready for the Allis Chalmers, our featured tractor this year. We got several going on here. We'll see what we got. Get Bert and Clark to get them start coming down. We'll be good shape. First one up is Mark Bacon out of Milroy, a 1984 Ford W220 Allis. This big hoss is 185 horse. It's number 168 of the 175 of these builds. It's a rare tractor. Don't see very many of these. We used it the other day for a pullback tractor, and it never phased it at all. Appreciate it bringing it down from Milroy. If you notice, he's got duals all the way around, a wide rows. I think they use a Cummins engine in these things, so it had plenty of power, never had a lack of anything you needed between the power steering and everything. Appreciate you bringing it down, Mark. Coming up next, not all as good as Patrick Weber in a 1939 Allis Chalmers UC. That's when Allis started making their tractors and really started making the good ones. If you notice, the front's kind of squared off for the radiator. They was trying to get some stylish going on. That's back when John Deere still had unstyled tractors, so they was trying to make them look pretty. He brings this to the show every year. We appreciate it. UCs are far and few between, it seems like. He's got the kids and everything on there. He's ready to go. Appreciate him bringing it out. Coming up next on a 200 Allis is Mark Herbert out of Milroy. It's a 1973. Looks like he got a cab on that one. Back in the day, the AC wasn't near as good as it is now. I'm sure he's in there sweating. But he's got the big chrome stack on her, looking pretty good. Windows open. He's trying to get some fresh air through there. But those were a powerhouse back in the day. If you go from an old two-cylinder John Deere to a 200, 220 Allis, you really made a hell of an improvement. Appreciate you bringing it out. Coming up next out of Owensboro, Kentucky, on a 1953 WD is Marlon Eberhard. He's got that looking good. Just a putting right along, smooth running. Got the flags on her. Appreciate that, patriotic. Appreciate you bringing it up from Kentucky. He's got that tuned in just right. Coming up next is the 1940 Allis WC. driven by Jeff Elbhalter out of Owensboro, Kentucky. The WC was the first engine in a tractor that was square, 4-inch bore, 4-inch stroke. You don't see Alice Terminals anymore. They went out in the early 80s, but they was ahead of their time back in the day. Coming up next, the 1963 Alice D17, driven by Jason Eberholler out of Owensboro, Kentucky. They brought the whole fleet up, looks like. D17s was an improvement over the WDs and all that, and you had a lot more creature comforts between power steering, the 3-point hitch instead of the quick hitch. You know, a lot of them had alternators on the later ones. That's a Series 3 there. Coming up next on the 1957 D14 is Rick Mason. Still in her work clothes. Looks pretty good out there, Rick. Can barely hear that one run, so smooth running. Coming up next, 1976 7040 Alice. Looks like a maroon belly. Maroon bellies were earlier tractors. Later years, they painted the bellies on those things black. That's how you can always tell between the early and late. It's driven by Ben Peets and daughter Allie out of Napoleon. It's owned by Ben's father, Wayne Peets. It's one of 3 7040s that are still actively used on their farm. Wayne's been farming for many years, so that tractor's seen that field a lot of times. We appreciate you bringing that 7040 out. Sure looks good.
This space about right. Check, please. I gotta go this way.
Coming up next on a, well, missing a D19. Actually, we got out of line here. Let me check which one this is. Next up is a 7030 Alice. I believe that's pieces also. Maroon belly, so you know it's an earlier one. Looks pretty good out there. We appreciate them guys bringing them up from Napoleon. Wayne's been coming to Power Pass for many years. Everybody knows Wayne. After that's the D19. Robert Moon's 1963 D19. He comes up every year out of Cape Coral. We appreciate him coming every year to the show. I think last year he actually won Best in Show in the parade, so that thing's got a sharp paint job on it. Looks nice. Cape Coral down by Fort Myers. That's about 17 hours from here, so he's come a long ways. Coming up next on a 7020 Black Belly. See how the belly on this is painted black? You know that's a later one. This is driven by Mike Kuntz, former director of Power Pass, 1978. It's been the family since new. It got so new at Briggs Equipment, still used for tillage and grain cart. We appreciate Mike bringing that up. We used that down at Tractor Pull last night, and it was an outstanding tractor. Here comes a pretty one, 1970 220, driven by Jason Barnhorse out of Greensburg. Him and his wife Sally on the tractor. They got her looking pretty good. Jason's dad repainted out a few years ago, and they still use it, so we appreciate everything they do with it. It's a land handler. Coming up next, 1970s it says here, but I think it's older than that. I'd say that's probably a 60s, I would say. D15 Alice, driven by Logan Beadle out of Greensburg. D15s were a middle of the grade size tractor. They was great for little tillage and pulling a silage wagon, stuff like that. Had enough weight they wouldn't get pushed around, but wasn't big enough where they was cumbersome. D15 Alice. Coming up next is the feature tractor next year, Ford's. This is driven by Andy Niles, the 1955 740. The 700 series was a common tractor, and each one had different numbers after that, whether the transmission changed or that all meant something. That 40, I think, was transmission on those. But they either had 4-speed, 5-speed, and some actually had a 6-speed in those. But Andy and his dad are longtime members of Power Pass, and they sure got that looking sharp. Now here's a strange setup. Steve Crowell on his 1951 John Deere AO Pona Road Grader. Steve's been around construction and landscaping for all of his life, and he knows what he's doing there with that road grader. He's got enough handles and turns, and he can really make a road look good. Appreciate him bringing that out. That road grader is an 1890, it says here. So Adams Leaning wheel grader, 10-foot blades. So it actually was made in Indianapolis. So Steve found out a few years ago and he keeps bringing it out here. It's interesting to look at. If you ever get a chance, go look at the mechanisms on that thing. Coming up next is Clay Hunger on Joe Mobley's 1936 Farmall F20. See anything strange about that tractor? It needs so much power it had to put an extra engine on it. He bought that out of northern Indiana a few years ago. Those are timed just right so one doesn't fight the other one. Just purring right along those little 4-cylinders. I guess you can call it an 8-cylinder out of that after 2 4s. Not sure what the turning radius of that thing would be, but it looks like it might be a bear. After that's Joe Mobley, 1964 706 Farmall. Bought this tractor off his neighbor last year. He's used it to farm and do some tillage equipment with it. It's an outstanding tractor. He put some weights on front there to keep the front end down, but Joe and his grandkids are riding on that. They're looking pretty good out there. Thanks for bringing it, Joe. Coming up next is a little Farmall A, 1943, owned by Ron and Wendy Cathy. Looks like Ron's driving that. These guys are out of Greensburg. He's got that thing looking pretty sharp. If you notice the field cultivators on that, he can go do his tobacco or whatever he wants to do. Maybe green beans with that little thing. Thanks for bringing it. Coming up next is Brian Cathy on a 1953 Super M Farmall. Those were a powerhouse when they made an improvement from the M to the Supers. I think it had another 10 horsepower roughly, and you sure could tell. I mean, it really come to life then. That's when Farmalls really decided to try to catch up the John Deeres and Alice's on things. Got a nice stainless pipe on that one. Boy, it looks sharp. Michelle Miller on the next one, 1958 International 330, driven in the memory of her father Albert and Cheryl. Tractor is driven by 15 miles from the Power of the Past every year and still going strong. They bring it up here and we appreciate it. Albert was a mechanic back in the day down at Westport Implement. Coming up next, 1965 Cub Cadet 100 is repowered with a K301 Kohler driven by Justin Miller out of Greensburg. Coming up next is Jim Versman out of Greensburg, just north of town here. 1956 Ford F800. His brother-in-law had this, Gary Versman, who passed away there shortly ago. He appreciates showing it, bringing it to town. Looks a pretty sharp little Ford. If you notice, it's got the VA symbol on front. I'm pretty sure it's got the flathead in it. Hard to beat one of them flatheads back in the day. After that, it's a big old hoss, a 1974 1466 driven by Marcus Linke out of Columbus, Indiana. It was a Pearl Farm pulling tractor 3 years ago. Then the motor and hydro locked up. They said it's had time to quit and start all over, and they went back and restored it, put it back to stock, and looks like they did an excellent job on it. The old 14's had 2 torques, high and low range. Looks like he's got a low range now, just creeping along. He can throw that lever there, and when he does that, it goes basically from first gear to third gear. Got a pretty good shine on it. It's hard telling how to tractor pulling life on them. Usually those were pretty hard on those, whether the axles or the final drives. But it looks like they went through it all and got it all looking pretty sharp. The old DT, I think 436 in that one. DT was the diesel turbo on those, so the 14 was a good tractor. Coming up next is a 1961 660 Wheatland. Grant Moncrief owns this tractor. He pulled that last night, did an outstanding job. Boy, brought the front end up on her, looked pretty out there. The Wheatlands were mostly out west. You hardly ever see them around this area. They usually in Kansas and out there in the flat wheatlands. These things is international. If you notice, it's not a Farmall. International is a non-adjustable front wide end and non-adjustable wide front, the back rear end. That's how you can always tell an International from a Farmall. There's also some transmission differences on them, the gearing and all that. But this is, like I say, Grant Moncrief driving this 1961 International 660 Wheatland. He fully restored it a year ago, so last night I think it was his first year at Poland, and boy, he did, like I say, an outstanding job. Coming up next is one of our directors here at the Power of the Past, Casey Clark, a 1946 John Deere L Industrial. His grandfather, Sonny Cup, loved these little L's. He restored many of them. He always loved them little things. They was neat little tractors. Good for the little farmer. After him's a 1967 656 Farmall. Coat and smelts, that all's good. If you notice on that one, at the Farmall, the front end is adjustable and the back one is adjustable also. So that's the difference between International Farmall. The head and snare stones work closed, looking pretty good. After that, it's the first Oliver we got in the parade, a 1949 Oliver 77, driven by Ben Kramer out of Greensburg. Ben pulled this one last night and actually got second in this class. His family's a long line of Oliver fans. He actually bought this tractor off his uncle a few years ago and loves restoring it and playing with it. And he got her purring right along. Looks good out there, Ben. Next tractor coming up is owned by Merv and Rusty Lawrence out of Greensburg. Looks like it might be Matt Runyon driving that tractor. It's a 1959 Massey 85. Cute little tractor there. Merv owns a lot of Masseys. He has about one of everything. So if you ever need to know anything about Massey, Merv's your man. If you need anything from the co-op, go see Matt. He can take care of you there. Coming up next is Jim and Patty Lawrence's 1949 Case VAC, driven by their grandson Chris Hoopy out of Greensburg here. Looks like he's got the grandkids and his kids and everybody in a wagon there. Hey, it looks like it got a fan even. They're ready. They're not going to let this heat beat them today. Thanks for bringing it out, guys. Coming up is one of Farmall's little tractors, a 1948 Farmall Cub, driven by Michael Derflinger out of Greensburg. Those were cute little tractors back in the day. I think they had a whopping 8 horsepower and a top speed of about 10 miles an hour. So they was good for cultivating little small crops and doing little odds and ends around the farm. Better than get one horse out to do the job when you get the Cub out to do it. Give me more horse. That ain't right. That ain't right. Stop. None of these are in order now. Coming up next is a Moline Z. We appreciate him bringing ice. Sure, got that looking sharp. Doing pretty good. None of these are in order now. Coming after that is a John Deere A. Looks like Steve Krause, John Deere A. So Steve's got the wagon and everything going. Looks like they're doing pretty good. So got the covered wagon. He's got the family in there all waving. They're ready for a nice little ride, aren't they? I got nothing in order now. I got nothing in order. Nothing in order. Every one of these is out of order.
I did nothing to them.
Going a slight delay here real quick, guys. I got a list of tractors, and none of the tractors match the papers, so trying to figure out what we got here. I got nothing. Go do something. I got nothing. Coming up next, looks like it's a John Deere A, unstyled A. Putting right along. The old unstyled A's always had a slow gear. First gear was always a creeper gear in those things. Hand start, he had to turn the flywheel to start it there on the left-hand side. Get the round spokes all the way around. Those were kind of an option. If I remember right, Dan Wilson had several of these down in his barn. He always appreciated these. That's a 1936 out of Columbus, Indiana. Appreciate it, guys, for bringing it over. Coming up next, looks like Alex Zimmermeyer on a Super MTA. He brings this out every year to the fair, or the Power of the Past, and the fair when we pose it too. They're out of Greensburg, just south of town here. He's got that TA in that M. That was a hell of an improvement back in the day. When he had a straight M, he just had the regular gears. That's when they was playing with those TAs. You can throw that lever, like I say, you can go change gears on the fly. That was always nice. Try to find a Massey Harris Challenger. A Massey Harris Challenger. They say Massey Harris Challenger. Coming up next is a Massey Harris 44 diesel. That looks like another one of the Webbers. Looks like he's got a purring right along there. Jerry's got quite a collection of Massey Harris's. He always knows what he's doing. Power steering, doing good. Coming up next is Jerry and Linda Weber. Actually, Jerry's driving this one, 1936 Massey Harris Challenger. This is a rare tractor here. He bought this a few years ago and restored it. Looks pretty good. There's not very many of them around anymore. That's back when Massey was green instead of what everybody's used to today with being red. Coming up next, Danny Peters, 1962 Ford 801. He showed at the State Fair this past couple weeks. Brought her down for us. He showed up for the last 35 years up there. Him and his father, John Peters and Nola, they've since passed on. He's took over the tradition. That used to be a state highway tractor. If you notice that front wheels are four-wheel drive, we can put a bush hog behind him and really move it along. Next is a 1957 John Deere 620 owned by John Berkemar, a former treasurer here with the Power Pass. The tractor and plow was bought new by John's grandfather, Herman Berkemar, in 1957. He brings that every year. It sure looks good for being that old. John does a great job keeping things looking good. Coming up next is one of the Wilsons, Derek Wilson, a 1956 John Deere 820. This was his father's tractor, Bill. Bill was a former director here of the Power Past. They had plow day last week. I wasn't able to make it out there, but they had a good turnout. Plowed, I think, about 80 acres. So it looks good, runs good, and pulls good. Here comes Dan's son-in-law, Joe Weisenbach, out of Greensburg here, a 1951 John Deere G. Dan bought this there a few years ago before he passed, and it looks pretty good. Still doing good out there, Joe. Coming up next is a tractor that Dan used to own at one time. He sold to Ben Swearing and his family. It's a 1967 Farmall 706. Ben and his family restored that. If he knows, he got some wheel weights on the back. He actually pulled it last night. I think he went about 240 feet, so it did pretty good. Just like a nice little Sunday ride here on a Saturday afternoon for Matthew up there. Coming up after that, Mark Beal out of North Vernon here, 1949 Cockshutt 40. Got the wide front end on that. Cockshutts were a kind of a common tractor back in the day. There's a lot of dealers around, but they was good. Between the Cockshutts and co-ops, they were tough to beat back in the day. They had that little 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder Buda engines in them. They were nice, running, smooth tractors. Appreciate you bringing it out today.
These are the four here. 1, 2, 3, 4, the red ones.
What we got?
These, starting out here. These 4 red ones. I don't know what those are.
Coming up next is a 450 Farmall, 1958, owned by John and Roland Scudder out of Shelbyville. They brought these down last year. You know, Scudder's Hilltop Farm, they really know how to do them. They really got a shine on them, the stainless headlights, the stainless muffler. Boy, they really make them look pretty out there. Smooth runner guys out there. This is another one of the Scudder's tractors, a 1956 Farmall 350. 350 was an improvement over the H. If you notice, the 350 had the yellow paint scheme or the white paint scheme on it compared to the full red. You go through the neighbor's field, you can always tell when they had a new tractor back in the day with that white paint scheme. After that, 1950 Farmall H. John and Roland Scudder once again out of Shelbyville. Another one of sweet looking tractors there out of the Scudder Hilltop Farm. They know how to make them look pretty. That H tractor, if you look at that one, the tractor just in front of them, that's what the 350 replaced. It went from H to 300 to a 350. So every few years, International improved them and made them looking better and actually run a hell of a lot better. Looks like the last tractor we got from the Scudder Farms, the 1950 Farmall M. They got that one looking pretty good out of Shelbyville. Appreciate them bringing that down. Here comes another former director of the Power Past, Andy Niles, a 1948 John Deere G. And his dad Art are out of St. Paul up there. They really enjoyed their old tractors. They not only have John Deere's, but as you've seen before, a Ford and I believe a Cockshut, and they know what they're doing when they come to tractors. Art's been around a long time, knows what to do and how to make them run like a sweet little dream. G was a monster tractor back in the day for John Deere. Coming up next, looks like he's ready to pick up some bales of hay with that. Andy and Emma Longwell out of Morristown, a 1946 Farmall H. Got that little lift up front there, run off the hydraulics and the brakes, looks like. What they did, he hooked bales of hay to it and go out there and feed the cows with it. A lot better than have to manhandle those things back in the day.
These go right behind Overmeyer, but it's not on top.
Coming up next is one of the founding fathers of the Power of the Past, Bill Overmeyer and his grandson Mac, a 1967 John Deere 5020 with a rollover plow. Those rollover plows was an impressive thing to see out in the day. They still are today. Actually, you can start plowing and they flip over, turn around, go right back the other way. You don't have to turn around, go all the way around the field. The 5020 was a monster tractor back in the day. Bill used that last week in the plow down there, and you can see it's still got some dirt on the plow, so he did an outstanding job. Coming up after that is Dennis Edens out of North Vernon, a 1950 John Deere E. Driven by Dennis. Dennis brings this up Power Past every year. He used to play a lot of tractor games, if I remember right, with this little thing, and it's pretty handy. After that, this one here is driven by Jill Stoner, also owned by Dennis and Rosemary Edens out of North Vernon. It's a 1953 John Deere 40T. They went from the tractor, the M, to the 40 as John Deere's improvement. After that, looks like it's the Power of the Past Board of Directors, the 1952 John Deere MT driven by Tom Cherry. He took this to the state fair this past year and showed it. This is all your directors, officials, and volunteers. So if anybody has improvements or wants to complain about anything, you want to see everybody on that wagon. And it looks like the last tractor in the class is David Holkamp and family. David's got a John Deere 60 out there. He got a wagon pulling it there. I know he bought that wagon there about a year ago so he can pull all the kids around. So doing a great job. Looks pretty good out there, Dave. Just a putting right along. Nice chrome stack. You can hear the thing just popping. Oh, yeah. Looks good. Appreciate you guys coming. And that looks like that'll conclude our parade for the day. We appreciate everybody coming out for the Dan Wilson Memorial Parade. Nice and hot out there. We appreciate you staying and watching. As we say, the Wilson family will be picking out the winners here shortly, and I'll be getting with you guys, and we'll have some pictures taken. So